Hello guys, welcome to the movie recap review. Happy watching.
In an apocalyptic world, a woman named Juliet drives through a barren wasteland, scouring for resources to ensure her survival. Armed with a gun, she's prepared to use it against any threat that comes her way. One day, Juliet stops at a gas station, hoping to find some food. However, she flees after hearing a creature growling and moving around on the upper floor. While in her vehicle, Juliet contacts her friend Harry, who is eager to know if she has found any food for their group of 39. Juliet informs him that the gas station is empty and that she'll take a shortcut back to their base due to her low battery. On her way home, she discovers an RV where she finds a severely injured man. Pointing her gun at him, Juliet demands to know the whereabouts of the creature. The old man reveals that he has managed to trap it inside the RV and also mentions that there are canned goods in the vehicle. As Juliet prepares to enter, the man begs her to end his suffering, fearing the monster, which he calls a reaper, will consume him. Juliet, however, refuses to waste a bullet on him and tells him to choose between dying from his wound or coming with her. With no time to waste, Juliet enters the RV and battles the reaper. The fight is intense, shattering windows and shaking the RV, but she eventually kills the creature. Exhausted, Juliet exits the RV, finds the man's lifeless body, and collects the food and valuables. As she resumes her journey, Juliet gazes at a picture of herself with a man. A gust of wind blows the photo away, and Juliet becomes distracted while trying to retrieve it. This moment of distraction causes her to lose control of the vehicle, which flips multiple times before she blacks out. In a flashback, years before the apocalypse, Juliet is seen in an art gallery where the owner, Jack, approaches her and tries to flirt. Juliet, who is only there because of the rain, is uninterested, but Jack insists she look at the beautiful artwork. Returning to the present, Juliet wakes up in pain from an open fracture in her leg and realizes her gun is a few feet away. She attempts and fails to call for help using a radio. With reapers more active at night, Juliet must urgently find a way to retrieve her firearm. Juliet attempts to retrieve her pistol using a makeshift pull, but her efforts fail as the rod separates. In another flashback, Juliet is seen leaving the gallery with Jack, eating while strolling down the street. She laughs when Jack jokes that her food contains meat, knowing she's a vegetarian. Although she spits out the food in surprise, she isn't upset when she realizes Jack was only teasing. Jack invites Juliet to his apartment, where she is impressed by its beauty. They share drinks and cheese, and while Juliet finds it difficult to open up to Jack, she eventually reveals her name after some coaxing. Jack shares his name in return. Later, Jack spots Juliet with another man at a bar and follows them outside, witnessing the man paying Juliet for something. Jack sees Juliet reject a kiss from the man and discovers that she is a dealer. Juliet is forced to buy back her apartment from another dealer to whom she is indebted. Jack, seeing how dire Juliet's situation is, tries to engage in small talk, but she finds it irritating and tells him to leave. Despite Jack's offer of help, Juliet refuses and orders him to go. Jack feels regret for following her, and upon seeing her inject herself with drugs, realizes that the woman he admired is also an addict. Disheartened, Jack leaves Juliet's apartment. Back in the present, Juliet finally frees her leg from being stuck on the steering wheel. She creates a tourniquet, washes the wound with alcohol, and endures the excruciating pain as she pushes her protruding bone back into place. After binding her wound, she repairs her radio to call Harry and inform him of her injury. Frustrated by the lack of response, Juliet hears a reaper approaching and crawls out of the car to retrieve her gun. As she prepares to shoot if necessary, the sound of Harry's call interrupts her, forcing Juliet to throw her radio outside to distract the creature. With the reaper distracted by the noise, Juliet manages to stay hidden. The monster hears another reaper in the distance and walks away, leaving Juliet relieved. Alone, she replaces her gun's bullets with fresh ones, readying herself for the challenges ahead. In the past, a bruised and battered Juliet visited Jack at his apartment. Without asking questions, Jack tended to her wounds and cleaned her up before letting her sleep in a room. The next morning, Juliet thanked Jack and joined him for breakfast. Jack opened up about his struggles after his parents' death and how he managed to adapt to life in America. He suggested that Juliet might find a way to do the same. Feeling uncertain, Juliet asked if she could take a walk around the block to get some fresh air, but Jack, recognizing that she was likely seeking a fix, refused to let her leave. Offended, Juliet tried to leave but found the elevator out of order. She demanded that Jack let her go, but he firmly insisted on staying with her until she was clean. In a fit of rage, Juliet began to destroy Jack's belongings. But Jack remained calm, holding her tightly until she settled down and eventually kissing her. In the apocalyptic present, Juliet throws glow sticks outside to check for reapers. When nothing appears, she cautiously approaches a radio. Hearing a noise behind her, she throws more glow sticks in various directions until she spots a reaper. Climbing onto her car, Juliet shoots the creature and then returns to her vehicle to wait. The reaper emerges from behind, yanking the window cover and grabbing at Juliet's foot. She starts the car and presses the accelerator, injuring the monster with the moving wheels. Juliet waits for the reaper to reappear, firing a few shots when she sees it running. Unbeknownst to her, the creature has already entered the vehicle behind her. Startled, Juliet shoots the reaper, sending it fleeing before she attempts to fix her radio with trembling hands. She tries to calm her nerves with alcohol, only to find her flask is empty. In another flashback, Jack and Juliet are seen moving into their new house. Juliet is excited, but also nervous about the changes. Jack gently touches her face, making her smile, and shows her the room they plan for their future child. Despite her doubts about being a good mother, Jack reassures her that the most important thing is to try to make it work. Before exploring the rest of the house, Jack asks Juliet to say she loves him, and though she doesn't say it directly, he feels it. Later, Juliet reluctantly reveals her pregnancy to Jack, who is overjoyed. Unfortunately, their joy turns to grief when Juliet gives birth to a stillborn baby, and they must return to an empty nursery, bearing the weight of their loss. In her grim reality, Juliet finally manages to fix her radio and contact Harry, sharing her situation and location. However, due to the poor signal, their communication is unclear, and Juliet only hears Harry mention a locator beacon. After their conversation, Juliet retrieves the beacon and follows the manual's instructions as best as she can. Once the beacon is operational, Juliet starts by securing her windows, only to realize that a reaper is waiting outside. The creature tries to break into her vehicle, and Juliet presses her foot against the window cover, causing the reaper to retreat after injuring its fingers. Juliet then secures the cover with a rod and prepares to shoot as the reaper continues to strike her vehicle from various angles. Suddenly, she receives another call from Harry, who advises her to use a flashlight on the reaper. Harry is confident that the bright light will drive the reaper away, but Juliet informs him that her flashlight is broken. With Harry and his team on their way to rescue her, Juliet just needs to hold on a little longer. However, the reaper is relentless and manages to break a car's windshield. Now exposed, Juliet turns on her headlights and drives the reaper away. She calls Harry again to ask when they will arrive, but he apologizes and tells her that rescue won't come until sunrise. In a flashback, Jack scolds Juliet for constantly running away, expressing his frustration with the worry she causes him. Juliet demands Jack admit that he blames her for their baby's death, but he denies it. She also accuses Jack of pressuring her into having a child against her wishes, but he doesn't argue. Fed up, Jack leaves the car to take the subway, finally admitting that her previous drug use was a factor in their baby's death. He wants to end their relationship, but walks away before Juliet, in tears, tells him she doesn't need him. Later, while drinking at a bar, Juliet learns from the news of an attack at the subway station, which resulted in over 30 deaths. She answers a missed call and is horrified to discover that Jack was among those hurt. She quickly leaves to find him. Back in the present, Juliet hears a vehicle pass by and honks the horn, hoping to attract attention. A bike stops, and the rider approaches, promising to help her. Unfortunately, the man who stops to help Juliet turns out to be a cannibal with sinister intentions. As he attempts to stab her, a reaper arrives and attacks the cannibal. The reaper, Mercilessly crushing the cannibal's skull forces the man's accomplices to flee in terror. Juliet watches as the Reaper feasts on the cannibal, and in a moment of despair, she contemplates suicide while checking her remaining bullets. She positions the gun under her chin, but is suddenly reminded of Jack's last moments at the hospital after the subway attack. Jack had suffered severe burns to his larynx and trachea from the gas used in the attack, rendering him unable to speak. When Juliet visited him, she apologized for everything that had happened. Jack, through a whiteboard and marker, expressed his love for Juliet and urged her to never give up. Thinking of Jack's final words, Juliet puts the gun down, determined to survive. She takes a flare and 2 fuel containers from the vehicle. After filling 1 container with gasoline, Juliet lights the flare and waves it around to lure the Reaper. Once the creature appears, she leads it towards the container. As the Reaper stands on the gasoline-soaked ground, Juliet shoots the container, but the explosion doesn't kill the Reaper, which manages to escape. Juliet, now in imminent danger, remains vigilant and searches for the Reaper, unaware that it is behind her. The Reaper grabs Juliet, causing her to drop her gun. She crawls back into the car, but the creature pulls her leg, making her wound bleed profusely. Despite her efforts to fight back, the Reaper drags her out of the vehicle and throws her to the ground. As the creature approaches, Juliet manages to retrieve her gun and shoots the Reaper twice, relieved to see it finally die. As Juliet gazes at the stars, she is overwhelmed by the memory of Jack's death. When the sun rises, the Reaper stirs and crawls towards Juliet. Out of bullets, she hurriedly reloads her gun, terrified that she might not survive. As the Reaper looms over her, Juliet remains still while it gently touches her face, realizing with shock that it is Jack. Juliet recalls their first meeting when Jack had spoken about fate and the universe bringing people together. Despite her skepticism, Juliet had questioned what Jack would do if she left him at that moment. In a grand romantic gesture, Jack closed the gallery and walked home with her. Back in the present, Juliet, in tears, finally tells Jack that she loves him. She embraces him, resting her head against his, and decides that they should face the afterlife together.
And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.